guys, so today I'm going to be doing my 2024 reading wrap up and I'm doing it in tier list form. I'm using my phone camera because I think that the quality is better than my computer. So sorry if I'm looking over here because I'm looking like at my computer to do it. So it is currently December 21st and I've read 86 books. I'm hoping to get to 90 by the end of the year, and I wish I had been more diligent in thinking about getting to 100 because I feel like I'm so close, but I think I'm going to set 100 as my goal for next year. So, a little background about me, I guess, is I'm in law school, so a lot of my reading was January, summer, and then now, but also in the spring I was a second year and now I'm a third year in law school, so I still have honestly a good amount of time for reading. I like a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. I also like classics, big into thriller. I like a lot of genres. I think I'm not super into contemporary romance or just straight romance books, but I do like romantasy. And I do like some romance books, but I'm not super into that. But let's get started. First, I want to just talk about the tier list. Bottom is no. Just didn't like it. I'm actually not too, I don't think a lot of books are going to fall in this category. I also don't DNF books because my brain doesn't work that way. I can't. So that's going to be no. Next is Mid Nation. This is just so mid, either just very forgettable, not bad per se, just kind of left me feeling okay, and what's the point, whatever. Did what needed to be done. I think a lot of thrillers are going to fall into this category because I really like thrillers because I find them to be easy to read, entertaining, fun, and a lot of them I think they do what they need to do, and it's a cohesive story with some sort of plot twist, and it's interesting to read. And so I think a lot will go there, although some thrillers do rise above and some can go below that, but I don't normally dislike a lot of thrillers. Next is Really Good and Awesome. This one is just I really liked it, and I only do 5-star ratings. So on Goodreads, I only rate it if it's 5 stars because I just got too stressed out with book ratings and compared to this book, should this be 4, 3.5? I decided not to, but if I really, really liked it, then it's going to be a 5-star. But I would say if I had to, this category is 4.5-star books that I just really, really enjoyed. And then top is thank you. Just thank you for writing this book. Really, really liked it. Could be for a number of reasons, but those are my 5-star, my top books of the year. And I honestly will say a lot of them are going to be rereads, but I think that makes sense because I reread my favorites and my 5 stars. So let's just get started. This is not the order I read them. I just saved all the images from my Goodreads in order, but it uploaded just random. But that's fine. We're just going to do it in the order it's presented here. So starting off strong with Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion. I love Joan Didion. We're going to get to another one of her books that's potentially my favorite book of all time, but this is an essay collection, which most of her books are. Pretty sure I picked this one up specifically because of there's a specific essay about New York. This one also has an essay called On Self-Respect and also one that is on Keeping a Notebook, and I really like those. Now I can't think of my favorite one, but I'll insert the name of it here. But that I saw a piece of that on Pinterest or something, and so then I was I haven't read this essay collection, so yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're starting off really strong with some of these. Next is The Sun Also Rises. Sorry that some of the titles are cut off, but this is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. This is one of my favorite books. This is my, I think, third time reading it. I had read this originally in high school, and I kind of coined it as my favorite book. And then I think I read it, the first 2 times I read it were both a long time ago. And so I was I've been saying this is one of my favorite books, but I have not read it in so long, and I don't even know. I need to reread it, essentially. And so I reread it, and I really, really liked it. This is still the only Ernest Hemingway book I've read. I really want to read For Whom the Bell Tolls, but I really like this one. I like his writing. I like the kind of dialogue centric nature of it, and like um, the sparse writing. I like the main character. I don't know. I really like this book. So yeah. Next is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I have been really getting into F. Scott Fitzgerald. There are two more, or maybe only one more. I think this side of, no, Tender is the Night. I think I read that last year though. But anyway, I had never read The Great Gatsby, but I have seen the movie, and so like I know what it's all about, but I never read the book. And I know it's like everyone's like, such a good book, like whatever. And I'm always like, not that I ever doubted that, but reading it, I was like, this is so good. Like I was just so obsessed with the writing, and just the story in general. And so, yeah, I really, really liked this one. Next is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I'm actually gonna put it here. This is the kind of book that I picked up being like, this is gonna be a 5-star for me. It's very much like post-apocalyptic, kind of just like wasteland, just like meandering writing, like that I feel like I would be like very much drawn to. And I did really like it, but I wasn't like super amazed by it or anything. I just was kind of like, yeah, I think it was a good book. I think it was kind of unique in its writing style. I think that the father-son dynamic was really well done, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was like mid-nation, but it's going to be in the did what needed to be done. Next, we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is my first time reading this, which I feel like is surprising for me. Like, I feel like this would be like a book I would have read. But I loved this. I already want to reread it. I think it was really fitting for me too. I read this summer, living in New York City, and I think that she has a lot of complex feelings about living there, which I also do. And I think that a lot of times books are very much like a love letter to New York City, and this wasn't, and I appreciated that. And yeah. Next, okay, I really, really like this, but I don't think it's top tier for me per se. But this is A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. This is my first Tennessee Williams book, and also like I haven't read many plays. I think the only plays I've read are Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet. And I really liked this. I liked that it was a play. Like, I don't know. It was a very satisfying and like surprisingly quick read. And I definitely want to read more by him. So that I think is going up there. This is The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This one was intimidating for me because it's long, and long classics always scare me to get to start. But I thought that this was so good. I just think that the way he develops characters is so well done. I think both him and Hemingway leave some to be desired in terms of the way that they write women. But putting that aside, I really liked this. I liked, I don't know, it's such a bleak book, but it's like not, I guess it's not like overtly sad, but like it's just so depressing like overall. But I really, really liked this. And I also really like Tender is the Night, which isn't on here. Next, oh my gosh, all my like top ones are like coming up first, but whatever. Gone with the Wind. This was my longest book of the year, over 1,000 pages. I just think that this book is so good. Like, I was so just enveloped in this, with these characters in this world, that I really didn't mind that it was 1,000 pages. And you know what, this is like, it's not like this is an 1,000-page like hard classic, because the writing is really not, I wouldn't say it's an easy read, but it's very accessible, so satisfying from beginning to end, like character development and just like honestly seeing like the collapse and like of the South. And like I know that there's a lot of kind of nuanced discussions to be had about this book. Yeah, and just such good characters. So yeah, I also think the movie is incredible too. Anyway, this is Hannibal by Thomas Harris. The Silence of the Lambs is my favorite movie. I think that the book and the movie are very well with the book, but the movie is just so good. And it's like reading the book to me was kind of a letdown because it was like the same dialogue and stuff as the movie, but it just doesn't bring about that same feeling. So nonetheless, I did decide to read Hannibal. And I think that, yeah, it did what needed to be done. It's really a thriller in a way, but it's more than that because it's very much like a character study too. This honestly is on the brink of being in this category because there was a lot of interesting stuff that went on. I just think that it was too long in a way. Like some parts were just a slog to get through, but then again, other parts I was like really into. Like I really liked the stuff with Clarice Starling. The relationship between him and Clarice is the most interesting. And so those interactions are my favorite. I think the parts of Hannibal in Italy were dragged on too long. Twilight, I reread Twilight every year around like September, October. It's my number one comfort read. I just find it and like, is it objectively a 5-star book? No, but it is a 5-star book to me, and I will continue to reread it. This is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I'm trying to like get through her books because I've read Persuasion, Emma, and Pride and Prejudice. Favorite book by her is 100% Emma. And then Pride and Prejudice, this definitely is my least favorite of the 4, but it was still very good. Like her books are just so satisfying to read. I had a great time reading it. I just didn't think it rises to the level that Emma and Pride and Prejudice and arguably Persuasion is on, but it was really good and awesome. This is The Wild Iris. Oops, I'm actually gonna put it here. The Wild Iris by Louise Gluck, I think. Yeah, this is a poetry collection. I wish I read more poetry this year because I really didn't, but this was really beautiful. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would say like one poet that would go on top for me is Mary Oliver, but this was really, really good. This is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is a reread for me. I think that this book is insanely good. I was kind of like hesitant to read it because I had watched The Haunting of Hill House TV show and I liked it, but the book and the TV show like have essentially like no overlap in plot. They're completely different, and I liked the book so much more. I found the main character to be so relatable, and I don't know. I think the book is incredible. Okay. Next we have Stoner by John Williams. This was really good. It follows a professor kind of through his life. Like it's a very time-spanning book, and I just found it to be very well written, very gripping, really sad, and just a really, really good. I wish I read more poetry this year because I really didn't, but this was really beautiful. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would say like one poet that would go on top for me is Mary Oliver, but this was really, really good. This is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is a reread for me. I think that this book is insanely good. I was kind of like hesitant to read it because I had watched The Haunting of Hill House TV show and I liked it, but the book and the TV show like have essentially like no overlap in plot. They're completely different, and I liked the book so much more. I found the main character to be so relatable. I will continue to reread it. Like, next we have Stoner by John Williams. This was really good. It follows a professor kind of through his life, and I just found it to be very well written, very gripping, really sad, and just a really, really good character study of this individual. So yeah, that was great. Definitely recommend. Prozac Nation, I'm putting at really good and awesome. I watched the movie and then decided to read the book. I think that it's a really raw and potentially relatable experience to people kind of suffering from these mental illnesses. And I think a lot of people think of this as kind of like, I don't know, from reviews I've read, it's like they just don't like the main character, but I think that it's just like, I don't know, like I think that's not the point. Like I think that but I don't know, it was really impactful for me, and I really liked it. Okay. Here we have Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion, that I think is potentially my favorite book of all time. This is, to my knowledge, her only like fiction novel, and I wish she had written more. Although I love her essay collections, but just such an incredible book. It's also like you can read it in a matter of a few hours, but it's so hard hitting, and it's just so, I don't know. I like the last time I reread it, I felt like when I like finished it, I like had this epiphany, and I was like, I don't know, like I just think that it's such a good book. I cannot recommend this one enough. This is Breakfast at Tiffany's. Putting it here, I prefer the movie. Like I just think that I really liked the movie, and I read this after I watched it. I don't know, I don't like have much to say about it. And I honestly don't even remember the other, because it's a short story collection. There are other stories in this, and I don't even remember the other ones. Like it was forgettable to me, but it was also like good enough that it's not mid-nation. So I unfortunately have to put this at no. This is Waste. This is a very short book that I don't even know how you would like describe this kind of book, but it's like, if like experimental is the right word, I don't think that's the right word. It's just like, it's a unique book. Like it is a very unique book, and it follows this janitor in an office building, and it's very creepy, it's very unsettling, and it's written in a very unique writing style. But I had trouble following what was going on, which like, I don't know, like I don't think I'm like a genius, but like I'm usually not like genuinely confused by what's happening, and it's not like I was skimming, like I was reading the book and I was like, I don't know what physically is happening. And I don't think the plot is necessarily like the biggest part of this book. I think it's more about the character and about like the writing and the ambiance of this office building and about the trash. But I was just like, it was not a good experience for me reading because I was confused. And I just don't think this was the book for me. But it was really interesting. So next is The Night Circus. I'm gonna put it here. It was like, I remember this being long, but I also remember there being good like twists. The writing was really fun, and I just thought I did really like it, so it's gonna go there. Okay, this is the Red Rising series. I actually put a lot of trilogies just as the first one, so I could rank them as one, because honestly sometimes, because I read a lot of them earlier in the year, I don't remember exactly what happened in each book, but whatever. This actually I think is going to go up here because the first book was so good. Really just great world building, or not fantasy, or I guess it is fantasy, like sci-fi, dystopian, space, all of that right up my alley. Really well written, really interesting characters. Like a very, very solid book. I definitely recommend that. I am someone who like, I a lot of the time prefer the first book of like series and trilogies. But this book did stay pretty consistent in like its quality and how good it was. But these I'm just gonna put here because like I don't think they grip me the same way the first one does, to be honest. This is going in mid-nation because like I don't think it was awful. It's called Snow Like Ashes. It's a YA fantasy. I just thought it'd be fun, but I like could not tell. I do not remember the characters, do not remember the plot. It was honestly really boring, but it's gonna go mid-nation. This is called Slasher Girls and Monster Boys. This is a YA horror anthology, and it's short stories based on like other movies or books or whatever. One of them was based on the movie Death Proof, which I ended up watching after reading this, and it is now like I absolutely loved it. And so it was like, it wasn't just like, you know, like retelling of Frankenstein, which like, not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but there were like really more like niche things that I found really interesting about this. I read this literally yesterday. It's called Every Last Word, and it is about, so it's YA, and usually the only YA that I read is like fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian stuff. But this is just like YA fiction set in a high school, and it follows this girl who has OCD. And I don't want to say too much about it, but I really, really liked this book. Like, it made me cry, which I'm usually not like a crier from books. I was just so like, I don't know. I don't want to say too much about it, but like, so good. Mid Nation. This is the Ramblers. This is just like a run of the mill, like adult fiction book. Like, it wasn't necessarily romance. Like, it was just like a fiction book, which I'm just like not really into. Like, I don't like really just like straight fiction, like contemporary, but it was just fine. Like, it was Mid Nation. This one is a sci-fi book. It's called Dark Matter. This one was really, really cool. Like, a very cool premise, very interesting, quick read, but still like had kind of like more like complex like ideas, like sci-fi stuff. Really, really liked it. It's going there. Caraval, I'm putting up here, and this is the whole series, although I prefer the first book. But really like this. I think the writing is just so pretty and just so, yeah, big fan. The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. It's about these girls who were kidnapped and kept in like essentially a butterfly garden, and they're like, yeah, so it's about them. It was very, very much a page turner. Like, I read it in like a few sittings, but I don't think it was like anything super special. I think it did what needed to be done for sure, though. I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. It's a thriller, but to me, it rises above the did what needed to be done, because the plot twist did really get me. And I went into it knowing like everything I heard about it was like, there's this huge plot twist. And so I went in kind of being like, well, maybe since I know it's something crazy, like I can figure it out. But no, like, on the other hand, this one is another thriller. This is The Lying Game. This is actually gonna go in Mid Nation because I just found it to be like boring. I just like didn't care about the characters. Like, next is The Gone World. This I picked up at a used bookstore because it's set on it like a mix between Inception and True Detective or something, and I was like, hold on. I would say it's more like Interstellar, but like it does have like just like Christopher Nolan, like Inception, Interstellar vibes. Also was reminiscent of True Detective season 1, which is the best season of TV in my opinion. I read this so early in the year, but I just remember at the time being so blown away by it. I honestly expected it to be more just like action, like thriller, like very plot based. However, the writing was so good. Like, it was definitely more in line with like literary fiction for me. Like, I feel like it's so underrated. Like, I'd never heard of it. And yeah. No Exit. This is a thriller. People like trapped in a, or not trapped, but like people who are stuck in a rest stop during a snowstorm. And there's like someone bad in the midst of them, but it was good. Like, it was good. Okay, next is Foundryside. This is an adult fantasy book. I thought that this had such a unique magic system, great world building, really interesting characters, and just overall found it to be really good and a 5-star. Next is The Country Will Bring Us No Peace. This is another one that I would say is kind of similar to Waste in that it is like a very just like unsettling short book, cool writing style, like that vibe. This one I really liked, thought it was very well done. Dune. Just an insane book. So good. Just so good. The movies are so good. I can't say enough about Dune. Like, I don't even know what to say at this point, but I just think that it is like such good sci-fi, like such a good mix of like, you know, like political themes, religious themes, relationships, power, just genuinely everything. And I honestly, I don't know. So the next, I also read Dune Messiah. Although I don't think it lives up to Dune, I'm actually going to put it in the second one, but I think that it like there's a case for it to be also a 5-star. Next is Good Morning Midnight. This is like a classic set in Paris in like the 1920s, I want to say. I don't know if that's actually right, but I think it is the 1920s. But just kind of this like meandering kind of stream of consciousness book of a woman in Paris. And I think that it's interesting because it's like, when I think of like that kind of book, I think of Hemingway, and I think of like that vibe, and like I think this is interesting because it's a female main character, and so I like that. I found it really interesting. This I found to be very much mid-nation, bordering on just like a bad book. I'm putting this here. It's like Clown. I think it's called Clown Chase in a Cornfield. This is a YA like horror. It actually was like, it was good. Like, it was fine. I did what needed to be done. Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm gonna put that and did. I liked it. I did like it a lot, honestly. I'm gonna move it up because I thought it was like really. I liked it. This is going up here. I know people were like, the second book's so good, but like it really was. So then I read this, and I guess I'll put that there too. I don't know if I'm gonna continue with the series at this point. I just needed a break from it. Like, I was kind of getting bored of it and during Court of Wings and Ruin. But I also am interested to see what goes on with Nesta and Cassian and like all that. But Court of Mist and Fury was great. Like, I really, really liked that. Inheritance Games. So last year I read all of the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I think that she writes just very like interesting, fast-paced books, and I like eat them up. So this was good. I don't know, I kind of got bored with the series. I don't think I even read the last one, so this is just gonna go here, but the first one was really good. Here's another Joan Didion. This one doesn't go, oh my god. This one doesn't rise to the level of the other ones, but it was really good. Essay collection, Let Me Tell You What I Mean. Next is One by One by Frida McFadden. Honestly, just like run-of-the-mill thriller, plot twist, fast-paced, did what needed to be done. Here, this is Hail Mary by Andy Weir, I don't know. His writing just like pisses me off. I don't know if it's his writing or if it's his characters or what. This is not as bad as, I think, Artemis. And it's sad because I love sci-fi of this kind. Like, especially Artemis was about moon colonies. I love that. This was fine. It honestly, like, they are, like, entertaining to read, like, pretty fast-paced. And the reason I did read this is because, like, the movie's coming out with Ryan Gosling, whatever, but it's gonna be mid-nation for me, unfortunately. There's a lot of Riley Sager in here. I really like him. He's one of my favorite thriller writers. I know that he's like kind of controversial in terms of like people liking the books, but Survive the Night, I mean, they're all probably gonna like go here though. But I just like, he's like someone who releases a book and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy it or I'm gonna read it. This one is about like someone gets a ride from like essentially a stranger home from college because they were just like in desperate need of a ride. And I like road trip or like car centered books like that. And this one was really good. Next is Once Upon a Broken Heart. This is like going to be for the whole thing. I actually going to put this here. I feel like people rave about Once Upon a Broken Heart more than Caraval, and they say like read Caraval for context, but like just read it in preparation for Once Upon a Broken Heart. But I think Caraval series is better. I do really like the second one of this series, which, yeah, that's it. I do like the second one better. And I really like Jax. Yeah, I mean, I really liked it, but I got really into Catriona Ward this year. She's like horror thriller writer. This is the first one I read, and I'm going to put it up here just because I was very enamored by her writing style. I was very into the plot of the book, the plot twist. And so I'm going to put that there. I also read Little Eve. This one, I don't know. This one I was like getting a little bored with. So I'm going to put it there. And then also Looking Glass Sound. I'm going to put both of them here. I think they both got a little bit too like it's like too much was going on, and I was just kind of like, what is even happening? Next is One Dark Window. This is a fantasy. I thought it was like really unique magic system, and I thought it was really good, but I also like wasn't even like obsessed enough to like continue with the second book, and it's just a duology, so I'm like, but I think it's in there. This is Some Desperate Glory. This is like a sci-fi just sci-fi book set on a space station. This is like in between the second and third category. It was really interesting. I would say it's like, I think it's like maybe dystopian, but it was a really interesting like society like system. Yeah, there was actually a lot going on in this book. It was like, now the more I'm thinking about it, I'm remembering like plot points, but even so, I think it's gonna stay there. Small Things Like These. I know this, I liked this book, but I don't think I like loved it as much as other people, but I am excited for the movie. Haunting Adeline. This was the first book I read this year, and it's the first dark romance I read. I feel like I had so much to say about it, but it's been a year essentially since I read it. I found it very entertaining. I also found it absolutely ridiculous, which I find a lot of dark romance. Like the plot is just wild. It's like doesn't really make logical sense. Like the people's motivations. It is problematic, but also it's like it's a dark romance book and it's fiction and like I don't know. But I was very entertained by it and like yeah, so it's going there. House Across the Lake, going here. Did what needed to be done. I know people like really hated the plot twist in this one, but I was like fine with it, honestly. This is Love in the Time of Serial Killers. Genuinely bought this because of the cover. It was just like a romance. It was fine. Mid-nation. Next is Poster Girl. This is by Veronica Roth, who wrote the Divergent series. This is an adult dystopian novel, though, and I thought it was really interesting. It's coming from the perspective of someone who is like, or was on the side of like the oppressors, like the, like in Divergent, like in Hunger Games, like the Capitol. I can't think of words of what I'm trying to say, but y'all know what I mean. It's someone from that side, and then like the rebels succeeded in like taking over, and so now it's like she's kind of like a prisoner and like in trouble for her actions. And I have never read a dystopian novel from that, and so I just thought that was interesting. I think it needed to be like more developed more, maybe longer, but I did like it. Next is A Dowry of Blood. People were like raving about this. I read this really recently. So I said that for Poster Girl, and I'll say it for this. I think it needed to be longer, and I'm usually not one to say that for books, but I think the formatting of the book too made it like you could read it in one sitting easily, and I feel like the characters could have been developed a bit more. The writing was like pretty, and it was like Tumblr writing in a way. Like it was like, I don't know how to even describe it. But it was interesting to read, and I love vampire stuff, but I don't know, in the way it was written as like this like someone looking back at their life made it so I felt like very disconnected from what was happening. This is the Mind F series. I'm just putting the first one there. There's 5. Loved this. This is another dark romance, but I don't think it was as like insane as Haunting Adeline. Like, this is about a romance between a serial killer and an FBI agent, which sounds like I actually just really liked it though. Like, I found it really enjoyable. Next is The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. This was really good. Set in the 80s, about like a group of teenagers, like serial killer aspect, very entertaining. Kind of reminded me of The Secret History. Kind of reminded me of that, actually. None of this is true. I did what needed to be done. And this one too. Although, yeah, they both were just like thrillers. Penance, I think I rated this 5 stars. The more I think about it though, I think it does belong here, although I did really like it. By Eliza Clark, who wrote Boy Parts. I definitely liked this better than Boy Parts. I'm putting this here. Flawless. Is this by Elsie Silver? I actually don't know. Is that right? Whatever. I told y'all I don't really like romance. However, I did really like Done and Dusted, which I read last year, and that's why I read this, because it was another like small town romance. But I literally could not tell you what. I don't even remember what it was about. Oh my god. Another romance, which I'm like, why did I read that? That's just plain no. I remember it being so dumb and like so. I don't think I even liked the romance. Like, I'm sorry. No, it's a no from me. Powerless, people were like really raving about this, and I was really excited because usually I am like stuff like that, like Court of Thorns and Roses, whatever, like I do eat it up. Well, I was kind of let down by. I was kind of like, okay. But at the same time, it did do what needed to be done, but it did not go above and beyond. Funny story I like. Here's the exceptions for me. Ali Hazelwood and Emily Henry. Those romance books I actually do like. And funny story, potentially my favorite Emily Henry. I just really related to the main character because I just feel like she was more just like shy and introverted, which I feel like isn't normally the case for romance, like female main characters. And so I felt like I related to her. And I just thought it was really a sweet story. The Teacher, Frida McFadden, it honestly did what needed to be done, and I was entertained by it. And although I was like rolling my eyes a lot of the time, whatever. This one I honestly almost want to put up here, but because I feel like this should not be in the same category as The Teacher. Yeah, okay, then I'll move it up. Just read this, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. It's like a cozy mystery, thriller, romance, and I really liked the romance subplot in this. Or like, I don't know, I guess it's not a subplot. I think it actually is a rom-com, but it's also a thriller and a mystery. So I liked all that. I thought all of that worked together really well. Loved the like 2 main people. Yeah. Bride, Ali Hazelwood, did what needed to be done. Don't really remember much about it. Like, it didn't really stick with me, but The Boyfriend, Frida McFadden, did what needed to be done. This is gonna go up here, actually. I love Sally Rooney. Normal People gets me so bad. This is her new book, and it's going up there. This is Such a Naughty Girl. This is I don't even know, I guess romance, but I guess it is a dark romance. I read that it's like Christmas themed, and I was like, I kind of want to read something stupid like Christmas, and I have like honestly no words for this. I will say it did what needed to be done, but it was absolutely ridiculous. Middle of the Night, this was good. This was like, I really liked this one. And then, We Used to Live Here. This potentially would like honestly be up here. I thought this was so good. It was like a horror thriller. I loved the writing style and found it like very, very unsettling and creepy. That is my ranking. It really is like top heavy. Like I first of all kind of gravitate towards books I think I'm gonna like, and I'm not too picky. Thrillers usually I like they do what need to be done. Like Joan Didion's, like I know I like her. A lot of these are rereads. Fantasy, yeah. Yeah, I feel like this was a good year of reading. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Bye.